Alright, so here we are on the first day of December, and just a reminder that this Friday we'll be doing our science fair write-up. So your experiment needs to be completed so that you can go along with me. I'm going to model for you on the board how to write a proper analysis based on the conclusion of your experiment. So make sure you're ready for that. And today we're going to be talking about the immune response. Now, interestingly enough, the immune response, which is a major part of the advanced placement biology course, which many of you will take your junior year here with us, is a very minor part of the MCAS. They don't explicitly ask you very much about the immune system itself, but they use it as a model to drive home some other concepts. So we'll be looking at it from that point of view of how can we support things we've learned already. And those of you who read comic books or watch action movies may have at some point seen an interaction between characters where they say, you know, if you're not with us, you're against us. What is the indicator there? Like, what are they representing in this statement? They're trying to say that the person they're speaking to is either a what or a what?
A traitor or an ally?
A traitor or an ally, a friend or a foe, right? And this kind of black and white thinking is very much how the immune system works, right? There's no frenemies or gray areas with the immune system. Either you belong in the body and the immune system leaves those cells alone, or you're an invader and the body seeks to destroy you.
That's kind of harsh.
Yeah, and this is why, you know, when we watch that movie about heart transplants and whatnot, this is why people have to find blood donors who have just the right type. Because if you put foreign cells in your body, like, you know, someone donates a kidney to you or something, and it's not like a close enough or exact match, your own immune system will seek out and destroy that new kidney or whatever's been grafted to your body. Right, then let's grab our. All right, so Marcus, Marcos, can you read our quote for us, please, sir?
You're never going to immunity from the consequences of our choices.
All right, great. So can anyone say more?
What happened? What? I heard him just.
Yeah, just to process it.
If you know what the. Oh, okay, what? Say it again, Marcus, because I'm like.
We are never granted immunity from the consequences of our choices.
Meaning, like, if we make, like, does it mean if we, like, make a choice, and that's our decision, so we can't go back? Like, because I know immunity meaning, like. Okay.
No, think about it. So what does immunity refer to? If you're immune to something, yeah, Precious.
Like, it can affect you.
All right, so it can't affect you. Sure. And Ms. Howard is saying, like, if you make a choice, right, you can't take it back. Like, you've done that thing. And indeed, if we make a choice, are there usually some kind of result or consequence? Yeah, right, so that's also something that can't be avoided, right? So you're never allowed to just, forget about something you said or did because other people witnessed it and they'll bring it up or talk about it. All right, so, and then again from yesterday, it's the same homework assignment from yesterday. Remember, it was a 2-for-1. So you'll finish that up tonight if you haven't already, and then you'll hand it in on Thursday. And you're going to honor skills here that second bit. And as always, it's right over there on the main board of the week as well. And for the folks who started it last night, a lot of what we're doing today will be familiar. So last night's homework and tonight's homework is a preview and review of what we've been doing yesterday and today. All right, folks, actually, that looks kind of. And speaking of immunity, how are folks' immune systems doing? We're entering into the season, you're starting to feel the illness, right?
I've been sick in the summer. What?
Yeah, it could be an allergen response. There could be something about the flowers or whatever's going on in the summer that you're reacting to. We were talking a little bit about that today, actually. All right, folks, here we go. All right, so our first word today is antigen. We're going to do that in orange. Nothing out of the ordinary thing asked of you, sir.
Yeah. What?
All right, so we've actually talked about this prefix before. It's come up in a previous presentation. Anti means what?
Like against.
Against something, right? So we're talking about being against something. And we've actually also seen this suffix, but we've seen it as a prefix. Gen, or you think of hygiene, gen meaning genesis. What's a genesis of something? beginning of, right? So what we're kind of thinking about in immunity, right, against the beginning, right, you're against the beginning of something new in your body, right? So anytime a substance, such as a toxin, or a microorganism, such as a bacteria or a fungus, enters into your body somehow, it gets through your cutaneous membrane, it gets through your skin, it causes an immune response. It causes your body to say, whatever's starting here, I'm against it, right? I don't like this thing, it doesn't belong here, it's not one of my blood cells, it's not one of my neurons, so on and so forth. So the entire purpose of the immune system is to constantly kind of read any cells entering your body and then determine whether they are an ally or a foe. Going back to our STAR question. And antigen is an umbrella term. So we're going to look at some subcategories of antigens. And again, we'll use our color orange for that today. And the next few words won't actually have a color assignment, but this will all make sense later on in the model. All right, terrific. And basically in the world, we've had a couple discussions about the kind of two major things existing on our planet. So remember our fancy words for those things? Some of those things are living, some of them are non-living, but what's the term? Biotic and
Abiotic.
Abiotic, great. So some antigens are biotic, meaning they're living, and others are abiotic. All right, first let's talk about our biotic antigens, known as pathogens. And this is actually not an unfamiliar term. Those of you who've ever visited a hospital may have seen like the pathology board or anything like that. Or if you watch the news, they talk about, you know, pathogenic, something that is a disease-causing agent. So a pathogen is any microorganism that can cause a disease. I also want to look at this word disease a little more closely, as it's kind of referring to being the opposite of homeostasis. When your body's at homeostasis, when you're the right temperature, when you've been fed, when you've had enough sleep, how does everything in the world feel?
What?
Like if your body's the right temperature, you've had enough sleep, you've had enough love, everything is just kind of going well. How does the universe feel in those moments when you're in homeostasis? Happiness. Does it feel difficult or does it feel easy?
Difficult.
It obviously feels easy, right? There's nothing you need, there's nothing you want, there's nothing upsetting you. And when you see the preface dis, such as dysfunction or dyslexic or something, what is that usually indicating? Or dishonest? Like not, or the opposite of, right? So we can kind of cut this in half. You think about a disease as being a dis-ease. You're not in a state of ease, you're not in a state of comfort. You're in the opposite of comfort, right? You're in a state where your body is upset. Thinking about what we learned in the kingdoms, let's get a couple examples of pathogens. So what are some things that might invade the body that is alive that might cause us a dis-ease or a
Parasites.
all right, parasite. Right, so parasites are a great example.
How do you get parasites? Is it like something you eat or something?
You can get them from food, you can get them from the water, you can get them touching other people, you get them from people breathing on you.
Are you serious? And like it turns into worms in your stomach, right?
Depending on parasite.
Depending on parasite. Right, so if he's mentioned worms, right, some parasites are animals, such as intestinal worms. What are some other parasites? What are some other things that can enter your body? Thinking about our kingdoms.
There was one parasite that enters your brain and it like controls it so that you're eating salt.
Yeah, right, and a lot of parasites have a mind control over their host. We're going to cover that in chapter 15. Thank you for pointing that out, Ms. Bias. What else? Things that are really small, maybe they don't have a nucleus. Bacteria, right? Bacteria are another parasitic organism, right? Remember our two kingdoms that are prokaryotic? Our two styles of bacteria? Ones that live in extreme environments, and the others that live in more host-like environments. Chapter 3. Fungi could be one of these parasites, a little different than our bacteria, because fungi are eukaryote. Of the two bacteria, I want to make sure we review this, back in chapter 3. The first bacteria, the one that lives in like extreme environments that are really salty or acidic or hot, starts with the first letter in the alphabet. Sounds like an object that's shaped like this.
Spear? What the hell is this?
meaning true or unified. So same prefix that starts off Europe. There were eukaryotes, which were our organisms with nucleus, like animal fungi. But what were the prokaryotes that started with EU? It's much easier to think. EU bacteria, right? EU bacteria. Very nice, great. So those are some examples of pathogens. Parasites, they could be small animals, they could be funguses, or they could be bacteria. Many of you will have, toenail funguses, or athlete's foot, or jock itch at some point in your life. That's an example of a fungus. All right, another antigen, an abiotic, a non-living antigen, could be our toxins. Yeah, these ones are just straight up your pen pencil. So these are molecules, like all other molecules that are surrounding and floating around the universe, like water, air, gases in the air. But these particular molecules, even if there's only a little bit of them getting into your body, it's enough to disrupt your homeostasis and create a dis-ease. So we're talking about not a harmless molecule, but something that causes damage. For example, nicotine is like a good example of this. Nicotine, even at very small amounts, causes large physiological changes in the way your brain works, right? So that's why it's considered a toxic substance, because even just a little bit of it is enough to cause a huge impact. Folks who know smokers have observed, if they've gone a little too long that day without a cigarette, what happens to their homeostasis? What happens to their, their overall mood, whatnot? They become anxious, angry, right? Because their brain chemistry is altered so much by the nicotine that it loses the ability to remember what's normal anymore, right? So with the absence of nicotine, the brain just starts going crazy and doesn't know how to behave like it used to. All right, so the last are our viruses, and we're going to have a whole day on viruses tomorrow, a big, stupendous super circus of virus action. But viruses are kind of a unique category in that they exhibit some things that make them like pathogens. Some of their anatomy and behaviors are like a living thing, but also like a toxin, they are a non-living substance. So we'll talk a lot more tomorrow about how viruses are and are not lifelike. And then of course you can also refer to the kingdom posters we did in the hallway. Some of your classmates created a poster about viruses. So a virus is an infectious agent. And going back to what Ezekiel asked, right? An infectious agent is anything that can be passed from person to person, or from an animal to a person, or from water to a person. Meaning that if you come in contact with it, it's going to become part of who and what you are. Now, viruses, unlike our toxins, can replicate inside of our body. And they do this by combining with our cell's nucleus, which we'll talk a lot about tomorrow. So they have that quality of like a living thing where they can replicate themselves as like an animal or fungus or bacteria would. But they're a non-living thing in that they can't replicate on their own. So if there's a bunch of viral cells like on a desk, they're not going to multiply, they don't consume food. It's only once they get inside of you do they undergo reproduction. Alright, so next up. Also in orange, and again, this will make sense when we do the model later. We've got the word antibody. And once again, we have our prefix anti meaning against.
I would like to do how can antibodies be used in blood type?
Okay, so I didn't actually do it. Yeah, so again, we're using orange again, which is a bit unusual for our color coding technique, but it'll make sense later on. And of course, we all know what a body is, right? It's a vessel that holds and carries stuff. All right, so molecules and things. All right, so the antibodies are produced by your immune system after some kind of antigen has been present. So it's a blood protein produced by your immune cells, and it's specified, meaning it only works against a particular antigen. Right, and could somebody remind me, what were the name, what's our like fancy high school biology name for white blood cells? Has the beginning prefix of a disease you get where your blood marrow can't make cells anymore. Your bone marrow can't make blood cells. Leukocytes, right? So antibodies, we're going to add this to our notes up here. Antibodies are produced by leukocytes. So after your white blood cells, after your leukocytes have dealt with some kind of invasion, whether it be a viral invasion or a toxic invasion or a microbial invasion, a pathogen, you produce these proteins afterwards which act like signaling molecules. All right, now some people have what are known as allergies. And this is a really interesting case of immunity. Do we have any folks who have an allergy of some sort in the room? What kind of stuff we have? Food allergies?
It's just, okay, so I don't know like specifically, but I know if I eat like any like sour, like fruits, my mouth itches, like apples and cherries and stuff.
Okay, probably citrus fruits as well, like lemons and oranges and whatnot. All right. So we have a food allergy. What else? So dust particles are an allergen for you. That's really common. Please.
My mom's allergic to like pollen, like her eyes get really.
So anything comes from flowers or whatnot, like pollen. Sure. Now, what's certain animals, right? Some people are allergic to cats or dogs. So what we want to understand then is why is it some people can eat oranges just fine or pet cats and not have a problem? Is that what an allergy is that your particular, pet a cat, is that an allergy is simply a hypersensitivity. Can folks remember what the prefix hyper meant?
Like Antigen. No, I lied. Wait.
What word?
Hyper. Opposite of hypo.
It's like it's all over the
Like extreme or high, right? So what we're saying, a person that has an allergy, the thing that they are reacting to is actually something just as a normal molecule that most people aren't bothered by, right? It could be a food substance, it could be dust, which is mostly just skin that's come off of your body and collected on the floor. But what happens is the person's immune system, for some reason, responds to this thing as though it's a major threat, it's a big problem. And this goes back to our start question, this idea of self versus non-self. The body just basically says, like, this thing isn't me, I don't want it here. Yeah?
So what do EpiPens carry inside of them that help people?
So EpiPens carry a molecule called a histamine, which is part of our homework. And that histamine blocks the reaction of the white blood cells. So they don't go crazy when you get the pollen or the dust or whatever. All right, so now some people have the opposite problem of an allergy. Rather than having an immune system that's extra sensitive, they have an immune system that is deficient. So we can look here, we have immunity, right? And we remember that.
Deficiency?
We remember that from that previous slide. Immune meant resist. What is it to be deficient in something? Oh wait, let me get the cup.
He said, let me get the code.
Where is that?
To not accept.
Here it is.
Oh my.
All right.
Can you not see?
Not
Obviously not. He missed that whole cup.
Oh. All right. So, what is it to be deficient in something?
Like, could it mean like
there's this.
So a lot of little kids have iron deficiencies.
That's what I was about to say.
Yeah, and they're asked to take, iron pills as a supplement.
so like a decrease in it, like somewhat?
Right, or an absence of, right? So not having enough. Right, so when someone is immune deficient, they are unable to resist. They have an absence of resistance. Yeah.
Does that also apply for like people who like eat a lot but they don't get like fat? Because they tell my brother to take like a bunch of vitamins and stuff. So what is that?
Yeah, so in that case, there's often two things that happen. One thing is that the person might not be able to absorb vitamins from their food. And then there also could just be a metabolism thing if their mitochondria burns up energy or molecules really quickly. But this is more about you don't have enough leukocytes or your leukocytes aren't reactive enough to deal with threats. So any and everything makes you sick. Right, you're the type of person that, like, if someone just sneezes, like, down the hall, you're, like, sick an hour later, right? So we're thinking of this idea that you don't have enough leukocytes to fend off problems. All right, and then this other one is autoimmune, and we'll do a little sorting cut action here for our prefix auto, which is what we've actually mentioned before. All right, Yuli, what does the prefix auto indicate? Like, yeah, so and think about all the things you know of that start with the prefix auto.
Auto insurance.
Get into zone. I don't have the name of it.
So think of like, tell me about automatic doors. What do they do?
Move automatically. Move by itself.
Move by themselves. That's the key word, right? So auto indicates
So
self.
it automatically resists.
Right, so, well, in an autoimmune thing, we're saying self-immune, so you're self-resistant, meaning that your body identifies its own cells as being the enemy.
What?
So people with autoimmune disorders, psoriasis and eczema are good examples of autoimmune disorders.
All these blimps.
Right, so what happens is people's own leukocytes are attacking their own skin. For some reason they recognize that their skin is a bad thing. Right, so the leukocytes can't tell the difference between an antigen and your own body's cells. So people with autoimmune disorders aren't necessarily, becoming ill because of something else. It's because of their own body reacting. And in this autoimmune thing, there's of course gradations, right? There's levels. It could be a weaker version where you just get minor rashes and irritations, or it could be something a little more major, where your body's constantly shutting down and having major issues. And going back to what Ms. Baez asked, taking histamines and other blockers of the immune system can prevent people with autoimmune disorders from having constant problems. All right, so we are going to transition into an activity. All right, so, all right, before we look at this and get all wild, we're going to do a couple things.
Play-Doh.
We're going to get some Play-Doh. All right, now the color coding on the screen is more suggestive than necessary, but what you need at your table is you need 3 colors. And it can be 2 warms or 2 cools or whatever, but we need 1 color to represent antigens, 1 color to represent our macrophage, and 1 color to represent our lysozymes. So please make sure your table has 3 colors, and then we'll go from there once you get set up. Here's scratch. So again, you just need 3 colors. They should be somewhat different from each other, right? So don't take like 3 shades of pink. That can is, am I able to? Nay is, am I able to?
Hey, you guys are forcing it, right?
All right, and if you got up there and there aren't enough, just get 3 from somebody else. There's plenty of it. So people can split the containers. Oh, and actually, all right, so what we are going to do is we are going to model all the steps of this. All right, and once someone plugs them out, I need half of somebody's set, so I can model this. Well, I'm going to do it on the projector screen. I'll come back in a moment. There's plenty. So folks who are a little slow in the draw, make sure to get some.
Oh, look, I did the magic.
Boing. Would you share with these kind ladies, please?
Fine now.
All right, folks. What we're going to do is we're going to model each step independently, and then we'll draw and note afterwards. I'm going to model it on the cam here, so you can see what I'm doing with my hands. Because they're still getting set up.